Hey everybody, welcome to my video. This is my first talkie where I won't be playing any guitar, but instead I'm going to be trying to enlighten on a particular topic. I've been looking to start creating this style of video for a while now, and it's one I'm looking to make more of in the future. I have several scripts started, and I'm looking to get them out when I can. These do take a lot of time and effort, especially when I'm doing everything myself, all the recording, all the, the script writing, all the photoshopping stuff takes a long time. So please give a like and leave a comment in the comment section, and if you like my content, then you can always subscribe. That would help a great deal in getting my channel going, and I would really appreciate the support. So, on the topic of sharps and flats in reference to identifying major and minor keys, as well as chords within the key, which should you use, which shouldn't you use, when, and why? Now, at worst, I would call this a point of mild contention. People don't seem to get too triggered when they misuse a particular enharmonic equivalent and are corrected for it, which is a good thing, depending on the intentions of whoever corrects them. I tend to, in the form of a question, in an effort to be completely sure I understand exactly what key or chord someone is referring to, whereas I'm sure there are some people out there who are more concerned with being a pompous ass and correcting people just for the sake of correcting them, because they can. Either way, the purpose of this video is just to explain and educate. If you've ever been a musician, at some point you've probably come across accidentals and enharmonic equivalents. Now, since we're starting right out of the gate with these technical terms, I'll just go ahead and define them right away for anyone not too familiar with them, as I'll be using them often. So, an accidental is any note not native to whatever key you were in at the time, as designated by the key signature. And while knowing what accidentals are is important, they are not a major player in this particular discussion. The key signature designates the notes of the major scale for whatever key you are in at the time, as the major scale is the basis for harmony in all Western music, that being any music utilizing half steps or semitones, built on the 12-tone chromatic scale. The chromatic scale basically contains all half steps and repeats from octave to octave infinitely in either direction. These terms will be explained a bit more in depth later in the video, as they are the most important elements relative to this topic. And enharmonic equivalents, which are the real problem here, are the primary focus of this video, and they are notes which share a common pitch and are located in the same position on an instrument but are indicated differently by use of sharps or flats. F sharp being the equivalent of G flat, or say C sharp being the equivalent of D flat, being a few examples of this. And about this time is where people start saying, no, if they sound the same and they're played in the same spot, then they're the same thing. And these people are partially right. Yes, they sound the same. Yes, they're located in the same place. Alas, no, they're just not quite the same thing. At least not on paper, and that is not hyperbole. In fact, unfamiliarity with traditional notation and key signatures very well may be the underlying cause of this widespread misconception. So, what in the world is the difference? Why is it sometimes proper to refer to certain keys using sharps and at other times using flats? Well, the dirty little secret is that it all comes down to which is easier to read, and really, which is easier just to deal with in general. I know I just used the term proper several times now, and that is because mistakenly using one over the other doesn't necessarily make you wrong. But when you do, you're using a key that for all intents and purposes doesn't exist and is actually considered to be hypothetical. Hypothetical, as using its enharmonic equivalent is ludicrously easier to read and to deal with. Let's take a look at the best tool available for making sense of all this. You might have seen or at least heard of what may be the world's most notoriously perplexing circle, the circle of fifths. To put it simply, the circle of fifths is a reference tool used to quickly and easily identify key signatures and, by extension, major and minor keys. Notice the row of capital letters beginning with C at the 12 o'clock position and going in either direction, each with an increasing number of sharps per key going right and flats going left. Each capital letter indicates one of the major scales based from that root note and is accompanied by a staff representing its corresponding key signature. C major is the starting position because the C major scale contains no sharps or flats, which is why there's no staff accompanying it in this diagram. Some diagrams do show it, and when they do, what you would see would be the treble clef along with the staff, but there just wouldn't be any sharps or flats, as this is the key signature for C major. And within the circle you'll see another row of letters, this time all lowercase. Each major key shares a signature with exactly one minor key, called its relative minor. So, say C major and A minor are relative major and minor. To keep this video as simple and easy to understand as possible, I'm going to try to avoid speaking about minor keys. Something to keep in mind is that when a major key is concerned, the same is true for its relative minor, so anything you hear about C major also applies to A minor, The same goes for, say, G major and E minor, F major and D minor, and so on and so forth. So covering both will be a little bit redundant anyway. Following the circle to the right, our first encounter is with G major, whose key signature consists of one sharp placed on the F line of the staff. This tells us that the G major scale is G, A, B, C, D, E, and F sharp. Continuing on, we have D major, which consists of two sharps located on F and C, so D, E, F sharp, G, A, B, C sharp. Next is A major, which gets three sharps on F, C, and G, so A, B, C sharp, D, E, F sharp, G sharp. Now we have E major, which gets four sharps on F, C, G, and D, so E, F sharp, G sharp, A, B, C sharp, and D sharp. Next in line is B major, which gets five sharps on F, C, G, D, and A, making the B major scale B, C sharp, D sharp, E, F sharp, G sharp, A sharp. And finally we get to F sharp major, having six sharps on F, C, G, D, A, and E, making the F sharp major scale F sharp, G sharp, A sharp, B, C sharp, D sharp, and E sharp. Even though this particular diagram stops after 6 sharps, you could keep going all the way to 7 sharps, which would require adding a sharp to the last remaining line on the staff without one, which would be B. So this would give you the key of C sharp major, and that contains the notes C sharp, D sharp, E sharp, F sharp, G sharp, A sharp, and B sharp. But even at 6 sharps, we begin running into problems, which the astute among you may have already noticed, and I'll address shortly. And going all the way to C sharp causes even more problems. Now let's check out the other side of the circle, which works in exactly the same way but uses flats instead. So first we have F major with one flat on B, so the F major scale is F, G, A, B flat, C, D, and E. Next up is B flat major, which gets two flats on B and E, so B flat, C, D, E flat, F, G, and A. E flat major gets three flats on B, E, and A, so E flat, F, G, A flat, B flat, C, D. A flat major gets four flats on B, E, A, and D, making it A flat, B flat, C, D flat, E flat, F, and G. D flat major gets five flats on B, E, A, D, and G, so the D flat major scale is D flat, E flat, F, G flat, A flat, B flat, and C. And finally we have G flat major, which gets six flats on B, E, A, D, G, and C, so G flat, A flat, B flat, C flat, D flat, E flat, F. As before, you could add a seventh flat on the remaining line that is yet to get one, which would be F, and that would indicate the key of C flat major. The C flat major scale would be C flat, D flat, E flat, F flat, G flat, A flat, and B flat. If that last one sounds a bit strange, it should, because we're getting comfortably into the realm of the hypothetical here. No, I know my instrument, and I know there's no such thing as E sharp, or F flat, or B sharp, or C flat. And like before, yeah, this isn't wrong, there's just more to it than just that. Sharps and flats don't always specifically indicate a note as it lies on an instrument, it also indicates a note which has been altered. Think of it as one being a noun, the note itself, and the other being a verb, the act of altering the note. While it's true that there's no location for E sharp on an instrument, if you take an E natural and raise the pitch by a half step or sharp it, then you have an E which has been sharped, or E sharp. And it sounds like and is played as an F. If you play a C natural and lower the pitch by a half step, you have a C flat, which is a C that has been flatted and sounds like and is played as a B. This is the problem I spoke of earlier regarding F sharp major, which has an E sharp as its last note, while the C sharp major scale, which is not part of the circle of fifths, would have an E sharp and a B sharp. Let's segue here and talk about the structure of the major scale for a while. All scales consist of a certain combination of half and whole steps, or semitones and whole tones, and are built from the chromatic scale, as I stated earlier. These are called scale degrees, or just degrees is also fine. The first degree and the basis for the scale is called the tonic, or the root note. For the major scale, the pattern of the degrees following the tonic is whole step, half step, whole step, whole step, whole step, and half step. As we learned, the keys of C major and A minor consist of all natural notes, those being C, D, E, F, G, A, and B. This makes them the easiest to work with, and thus the logical choice to place at the center of the circle of fifths. Let's overlay C major on the chromatic scale so you can see how the half and whole step pattern aligns perfectly with what the expected notes from the chromatic scale are. If we instead overlay this whole half pattern starting on G, then you see we do, in fact, have all natural notes save one, F sharp. As the circle of fifths showed us, G major has one sharp located on F. Let's shift it again and start on F. And once again, it's just as the circle says it should be, where F major gets one flat located on B. Improperly using the enharmonic equivalent on an individual note. Why would it be improper to instead call the F sharp a G flat when in the key of G major? To answer that, we need to learn a little about intervals. Intervals refer to the distance between two notes, just like they're the distance between two integers mathematically. Fortunately, the same whole half model is completely based off of intervals. The reason why it's not proper is because a major scale has to have certain scale degrees as determined by the pattern whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half. This corresponds to the intervals of, from the tonic, a major second, a major third, a perfect fourth, a perfect fifth, a major sixth, and a major seventh. For G major, we have G being our root note, or our tonic, or our first scale degree, with A being the major second, B being the major third, C being the perfect fourth, D being the perfect fifth, E being the major sixth, and F sharp being the major seventh. So G, A, B, C, D, E, F sharp corresponds to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Now these scale degrees are mandatory in order for something to be a major scale. You can't change any of them or else you no longer have a major scale. So in the key of G, where our major seventh is an F sharp, if you were to change that to G flat, then what you would wind up with are the scale degrees of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, flat 1, minor 1, flat unison, minor unison, diminished unison. I don't really even know what you would call this. And then, your octave, your 1. I guess it doesn't really matter though, it's not supposed to be like that in the first place. It's also of the utmost importance to know that a major scale also has to contain 7 consecutive lettered notes, with whatever sharps or flats applied as necessary for the particular key you're in. This means that for G major, we have to have some type of a G, we have to have some type of an A, we have to have some type of a B, some type of a C, some type of a D, some type of an E, some type of an F, each corresponding to the scale degrees 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. In the case of replacing F sharp with G flat in G major, we would have no F and we would have 2 Gs, or no 7th and whatever that would even be in the first place. However you want to shake it, it's just plain wrong, pure and simple. It makes no musical sense, and it violates the structure of keys, key signatures, and major scales, which are kind of important to keep intact. Now imagine trying to read such a thing. You can't just replace the F sharp in the key signature for G major with a G flat. Doing so means that all Gs throughout the duration of the piece you're playing, outside of any key changes, are automatically played as G flat, meaning that you would have to place an accidental, in this case a natural sign, every time you want to play the tonic, the G. Which is the most important note in any key, and one that you're most likely going to be playing more than any other. So you're kind of having 2 different Gs fighting for position on the same staff line. And that's just not how music works in terms of harmony and notation, and it would be an abomination unto both. You just don't do it, you just don't. Knowing that, let's see what happens if you take F major and replace the B flat with an A sharp. While F major contains the notes F, G, A, B flat, C, D, and E, corresponding to our 1, our major second, our major third, our perfect fourth, our perfect fifth, our major sixth, and our major seventh. With A sharp, you no longer have a B in there, or a fourth, and instead you have 2 A's, one of which is a major third, and the A sharp being an augmented third, which is the interval achieved by raising a major interval by another half step. Again, we're looking at trying to put 2 different scale degrees on one space within the staff at the same time, while completely disregarding the structure and function of music in the process. It doesn't work. improperly identifying an entire key. Imagine that you spend a lot of time playing in B flat, major, or minor, and maybe you do, and if you actually do, then great job, because B flat is awesome. I play in it all the time myself. But anyway, we're going with major. Now, tell me if this scenario sounds familiar. Someone walks up to you and asks you what key you're playing in, and you tell them B flat major, and they say, ah, so like A sharp major? And not to put such a person down for saying this, but quite simply, one is proper and one isn't, and we can see this very clearly by taking another look at our circle of fifths. We know that B flat major contains two flats located at B and E, so the B flat major scale has the notes B flat, C, D, E flat, F, G, and A, which correspond to the scale degrees of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Now, B flat is not a difficult key to deal with, as having only two flats in the key signature is very reasonable. However, go ahead and browse that scale again, and you'll see that A sharp major isn't even on there. In fact, it is one of several seemingly possible keys that are mysteriously absent. If you noticed this earlier and were wondering why, I'll lay that out for you right now. This is where problems with the enharmonic equivalence really start to show themselves. Let's go back to our chromatic scale diagram and attempt to build an A sharp major scale from scratch. It's a mess. A horrible, horrible mess. Keep in mind that for A sharp major, in addition to the A sharp, we need to have some type of B, some type of C, a D, an E, an F, and a G. And each has to correspond to the scale degrees 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. This most certainly is not what we're looking at here. In order to make it work, we have to use the notes A sharp, B sharp, C sharp sharped or double sharp, D sharp, E sharp, F double sharp, and G double sharp. So let's summarize that. That's two normal sharps, two sharps which many people don't even realize exist and or will argue against the existence of until they're blue in the face because there's no location for them on their instruments, and three double sharps. Now, what exactly would this monstrosity look like as a key signature? Yeah. You see that? How do you like that? Let's put A sharp major and B flat major up next to each other for a little compare and contrast. Now, which one would you prefer to deal with? Which one would you say makes more sense? That's why B flat major is proper and A sharp major is hypothetical. But wait, there's more. If you're still not convinced, then just for fun, what would the relative minor of A sharp major be, and would it be equally as outrageous? Well, yes it would. The relative minor is based off the 6th degree of the major scale. For B flat, the major scale would be B flat, C, D, E flat, F, G, and A. So the 6th degree is G, meaning that the relative minor of B flat major should be G minor. Now let's look back at our circle and we can see that yes, this certainly is true. Now, A sharp major in all its glory would be A sharp, B sharp, C double sharp, D sharp, E sharp, F double sharp, G double sharp. This would mean that the relative minor of A sharp major would be F double sharp minor. Let me say that again. F double sharp minor is the key there, and it doesn't work. Sadly, the few other seemingly possible key signatures absent from the circle are also terrifying. I don't really think it's necessary to go over them all. Even the least terrifying would probably be one that we did talk about, which was the C sharp major with its 7 sharps. But still, C sharp major and its 7 sharps isn't even on the circle of fifths, while its enharmonic equivalent D flat major and its 5 flats, unsurprisingly, is part of the circle. And that really about covers it. So there are reasons to use sharps and reasons to use flats, which I feel are not commonly known among a lot of musicians today who haven't really had any kind of experience with reading notation or with harmony or anything like that. I just wanted to shine a little light on the topic and explain how it works. And you can call them whatever you want. I find myself calling major and minor keys by the wrong name from time to time. Though I do make a point to correct myself because I spent a lot of time learning how music works and I want to do it right. I know I didn't cover anything relating to accidentals as non-diatonic tones or passing tones, but this is because this topic refers specifically to keys, key signatures, and the major scale, as they are really one and the same, and as some of the primary fundamentals of harmony, where music tends to really become conceptually broken when misused. Calling attention, such as a sharp 11 a flat 5 by mistake, is small potatoes by comparison, and that's another topic better left for another video on another day. Thanks for checking out my video. Be sure to leave a comment and tell me if this helped you out at all, or tell me if I've got it completely wrong. And please subscribe if you're interested in seeing more videos like this in the future, as well as more guitar related stuff, and I'll see you next time.